The sky above Calypso 3 was a swirl of muted greens and purples, casting the terraforming site in a perpetual twilight. To the colonists, it was both beautiful and unsettling. They had been here for 5 years, carving out a habitable space on the alien planet, taming its wild ecosystem and replacing it with Earth-friendly biomes. The Terraforming Guild back on Earth had called it a necessary sacrifice for humanity's future. Sophia Kwan, the colony's chief biologist, stood on the edge of a shallow canyon, staring at what should have been barren rock. Instead, a shimmering moss had taken root overnight, its surface pulsing faintly in rhythm with the planet's subtle tremors. She crouched to collect a sample, but the moss recoiled as her gloved hand approached. "That's new," she muttered, pulling out her scanner. The device sputtered and failed. "Doc," a voice called behind her. It was Eric, one of the site engineers, jogging toward her with an uneasy expression. "You need to see this." Sophia followed him to the northern perimeter, where the team had been clearing space for the next atmospheric tower. But the machinery was idle, and the workers stood frozen, staring at the ground. "What's going on?" she asked. Eric pointed to the freshly plowed soil. At first glance, it looked like a patch of ordinary dirt, but as Sophia stepped closer, she saw patterns, intricate spirals and geometric shapes, as though the ground itself had been etched by an unseen hand. "Did someone do this?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. "No one touched it," Eric replied. "It just appeared after we cleared the area. And it's not just here." Over the next few days, more phenomena emerged. The moss spread rapidly, glowing faintly at night. The air, once crisp and thin, now carried a faint hum, like a low-frequency vibration that made the colonists' teeth ache. Equipment malfunctioned without explanation, and some colonists reported hearing whispers, soft, unintelligible murmurs that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. Sophia worked tirelessly in her lab, analyzing the moss, the soil, the air, anything that might offer an explanation. But the results only deepened the mystery. The moss wasn't just organic, it was transmitting electrical signals, faint but deliberate, as if it were communicating. The whispers grew louder. One night, Sophia woke to find a message carved into the glass of her lab window. It wasn't scratched by human hands. It had grown like frost, forming intricate patterns. The message read, "Stop." The colony council convened in a tense emergency meeting. "This is absurd," said Director Lansing, the colony's leader, slamming his palm on the table. "We've spent billions of credits and half a decade on this mission. We're not going to let a bunch of weird moss and spooky noises derail us." Sophia stood, her voice calm but firm. "Director, this planet is responding to us. It's aware. The terraforming process is causing it harm, and it's trying to fight back." "It's just an overgrown swamp," Lansing shot back. "Then explain the whispers," said another colonist, a geologist named Marquez. "Or the fact that the ground patterns match ancient fractals we've only seen in Earth's most complex lifeforms. This isn't random." Lansing looked around the room, searching for support, but unease had taken hold. The tipping point came 2 nights later. Eric and a small team had gone to repair a faulty atmospheric tower. When they didn't return, a search party was sent. What they found froze the colony in collective terror. The tower was gone. Not destroyed, but gone, as if it had been swallowed by the earth. Around the site, the moss had grown thick and vibrant, forming shapes that unmistakably resembled human faces, their mouths open in silent screams. Sophia's hands trembled as she studied the images back in the lab. "It's not just aware," she whispered. "It's intelligent." The colony fell into chaos. Some demanded evacuation, but Lansing refused, citing the cost and the mission's importance. Meanwhile, the planet's resistance intensified. Food supplies spoiled overnight, purified water turned brackish, and colonists began experiencing vivid nightmares, dreams of drowning in soil, of being consumed by glowing moss. Sophia, desperate for answers, returned to the canyon where she'd first encountered the moss. She carried no tools, no weapons, only a deep sense of curiosity and fear. As she stood in the canyon, the ground began to shift. Patterns emerged beneath her feet, spiraling outward. The moss pulsed brighter, the hum in the air rising to a crescendo. And then she heard it, not a whisper, but a voice. Deep, resonant, and impossibly vast. "Why do you destroy us?" Sophia fell to her knees, her mind reeling. The voice wasn't angry or threatening, it was pleading. "We didn't know," she said aloud, tears streaming down her face. "We thought this place was empty." The ground quaked, and Sophia felt a presence as if the planet itself was watching her. Leave. When she returned to the colony, she found it in ruins. Buildings had been swallowed by moss and earth, and the remaining colonists were gathered in the central square, wide-eyed and silent. Sophia stepped forward, her voice shaking. "We have to go. Now." Before anyone could respond, the ground beneath them began to rumble. The moss spread rapidly, climbing walls, encasing equipment, creeping toward the terrified colonists. The last thing Sophia saw was a towering spire of moss rising from the horizon, glowing like a beacon. And then, for the first time, the whisper spoke as one. "This is not your home." To be continued.